2022 was the best year in Romania when it comes to foreign investments. 51 billion euro were invested in businesses located in Romania. To be more exact, 250,000 companies work with foreign capital. Is this a large sum of money? I know that for many of us, 51 billion euro may seem like a lot, but here we are speaking about the potential of a whole country. Is there room for growth? Where do we stand in comparison to other countries in this region, like Hungary or Poland? We will try to answer all these questions and many more with my guest, Mr. Alfonso Garcia Mora, Vice President, International Finance Corporation, Europe, a World Bank Group. For those who watch us, they should know IFC is the largest global development institution focused on the private sector in developing countries. Mr. Garcia Mora, thank you for accepting my invitation. So,
thank you for inviting me.
Yes. Why would any investor come to Romania? What are our strengths?
So I think Romania has many strengths, no? and it is not easy to summarize in a few words, no? But let me try. So Romania is a country that with a sizable market, so it's a market that is quite relevant. It's a country that is established geographically in a very important position or in a very important place. It's a country that has many natural resources and particular sources of growth that are very interesting. And it's a country that is entering or has entered into the European Union and that therefore has opened a new world for any producer or that produces in the country. No? So all of these are factors that when any multinational or any company internationally think on how could I serve better and with a much more efficient economic model, I would say, the European Union or neighboring countries, you may think that Romania is a good place to be.
But I look at the list with the most important foreign investors in Romania. The top 3 countries with the most important amount of money invested here are from the European Union. We speak about Netherlands, Austria, and Germany. The proximity is for sure a key factor here. The investors from all these countries have data about the Romanian economy, which is of course aligned to the European priorities. Do you think investors outside the EU do not know enough about the potential here, or Romania is simply not attractive for investors outside the European Union?
No, I think that it is attractive for both, but and actually there is today, or in these days, there is this movement, what we call nearshoring, no? Which is the changes that we are seeing in the global supply chains and value chains. This is a big difference with respect to what we had some years ago. No? I think that as a result of COVID, the pandemic, and all the impact that it has had on the global value chains, many companies are rethinking where to establish, and many companies are rethinking how to provide the products and services to the markets where they operate. No? So, my point here is that it is not one or the other. European Union companies or countries versus non-European Union. Is there any difference between one or the other? No, I think that Romania is attractive for both. Naturally, the first mover will be a European Union country because this is part of the single market, and therefore it is easier for these companies to establish in one place or locate in one place or another. No? And I think that in terms of production costs, this country is very competitive versus other European Union countries. So I'm from Spain, and the same thing that is happening these days in Romania is what happened in Spain when Spain came into the European Union. No? I mean, when these countries decide to enter into the European Union, there is a reallocation of production activities within the market, no? And this is the strength, and this is the value added that Romania is putting in.
How many years were from Spain enter the European Union till a certain amount of relaxation comes? Because here in Romania we are a little bit frustrated, if I may say so, that we are a member of the European Union many years from now, and we do not see a growth as fast as we would want to.
Well, what we want to, the sky is the limit, no? So we never know. I always say that this we have to analyze it with what we call the counterfactual. No? What would have happened to this country if it would have not come into the European Union? So the thing is, and that's the relevant comparison that we should make. No? And I think that the reality will have been very, very different. No? So I think that Romania is benefiting big time from being part of the European Union, as you were saying, on the supply chains and reallocation of manufacturing and other productive activities. Also because of all the financing and funding that comes from the European Union, that we need to think, and the country needs to think very hard how to maximize the value that you can attract from that financing. No? But still, there is much more that needs to be done, and I fully agree with that. So we should not be complacent, and we should not think that, okay, we are in the European Union, now we just have to grow. No, that is not going to happen. And in fact, when you look at the figures, coming to your first question, Romania has grown significantly more than the average of the European Union, no? which is a good signal of the potential that Romania has versus other countries.
In your opinion, which are the top 3 fields in which investors should bring their money in Romania? And what should Romanian authorities do to attract more investors in these specific domains?
So I'm not going to be able to say 3 because because that will exclude many others that could also have a significant potential. But I'm going to tell you how we see the country in terms of sectorial activity and potential. No? So I think that the country needs a significant upgrade of the infrastructure. And this is something that will benefit many sectors in the economy, agriculture sectors, services, manufacturing, many things, you name it. And this upgrade on the infrastructure of the country is needed and was needed yesterday. So we need to really speed up. And for that, we need to, and we are working very closely with the Romanian government to establish and to put in practice or in motion instruments, public-private partnerships that can really help us to leverage the financing that is needed and to bring the financing that will help us to finance that infrastructure. And when thinking on infrastructure, it's not only roads, which is very important. It's roads, it's ports, it's telecom, which is actually, Romania is a country that has a very high penetration of broadband, for instance, no? And digital means. So all the infrastructure that you may think that can help the sectors of the economy to grow, this is needed, and this has to be done now. The second thing that needs to be done now, and I think that Romania has a very strong one, is the banking sector. Romania has a very strong banking sector, and we need to make sure that the banking sector has the capacity to provide the credit to the economy that the economy needs in order to grow. Romania is still significantly below where it could be. So the level of credit over GDP is significantly below other peer countries. No? So there is a potential to really increase the credit activity to the real economy that will help us to move in that direction. No? Then the other 2 areas that I think are very important. One is the climate transition, the climate change, and the energy transition. We know that this part of the world, Eastern Europe, will and has to do a big transition towards a totally different mix of energy, sources of energy. Romania has already done quite a lot, but there is much more that needs to be done. And it means renewable energy, it means more innovation in terms of hydrogen and other sorts of sources of energy, but it is also to adapt our, for instance, buildings, productive activities, etc., to the climate change. Now, that's a big investment opportunity that is coming. And then the last one that I would mention is agribusiness. I mean, this country has a huge potential in the agricultural sector. No? But we need to change probably the mindset, and we need to scale it up. No? We need to think how can we transform the products that we produce into the next level. So how can we increase the value added of this product? How can we package them and not send the raw products to other places where they package and then they sell it? No, let's make sure that we can have the capacity to generate the value added here in Romania. If you tell me, give me one word, Alfonso, for the future of Romania, I will tell you investment. This economy needs to invest. And that's not only working capital. That's not only a short-term capital that firms may need to manage their budget. No? This is something that it goes beyond that. No? So we need good projects. We need bankable projects. And these projects, I'm sure that we'll have and we'll get the financing. And the second thing for the banking sector is digitalization. I think that this banking sector, the financial sector in Romania, has also improved big time the use of digital means. And I think that this will help also significantly to flow or to channel more credit to the private sector.
You mentioned infrastructure as a strategic field in which the Romanian government should invest in order to attract foreign investment. I know that Romanian companies with Romanian capital complain a lot about the workforce. In the past few years, they had to bring workers from Asian countries because they simply could not do without them. Do you think that for a foreign investor is a problem? Let's say they want to invest in infrastructure because this is the main domain in which to invest in Romania. It's a problem to bring their businesses here, to invest money here, and also bring workforce from Asian country. Is this a problem?
No, I don't think. I mean, there are two things here. No? From a country perspective, what is the skills mix that you want to have? What is the human capital that you want to have? No? And it is true that Romania has suffered a significant volume of migration, so people live in the country in the past, no? And it happens in every country in transition. This is not, we shouldn't think that, oh, we did something wrong, people left Romania. People also left Spain. People also left Portugal. People also left, I mean, it's something that happens in countries that are in transition when the population grow, when they start seeing the world, when they have opportunities, and they see that actually the opportunities outside of the country are better for them than staying in the country until the country goes to that level of development. No? However, when the country goes to that level of development, what happens then is that people want to come back to their own country. And therefore, you need to make sure that you have the capacity to bring them back. So there are two things here. No? One is how to retain the good labor force and the good skilled people that you have in the country, and provide them the education and the labor and the jobs that they require in order to stay here. And the second one is how to attract those who left the country and you would like to bring them back, no? Which is probably also a result, or you will need this type of good jobs for them to think that now is the right moment to come back. So I think that this is a policy that really needs to be implemented at the national level and also local level, and is very much also related to the education that is needed, to the skills mix that is needed in the country, and to the where do you really want to focus in terms of how do you see the productive economy going. No? To your specific question in terms of multinationals and foreign investment using international labor force to produce in Romania, I don't think that's a problem. I mean, I think that we are also in a context in which there are huge migration flows all over the world. I mean, the world has changed from that perspective. No? The volume of people that we see moving between countries is totally different from what we had in the 80s, in the 1980s, no? or even before. No? And we have to adjust to that situation, no? Which is, as long as they are committed with my activity and with my production, I don't really care where they come from. No? So I don't think that will be a constraint. Again, using the parallelism of my home country, no? Spain had a huge labor force inflow from Eastern Europe, many Romanians, Polish, but also from Latin America, from Ecuador, from Peru, from Colombia, and this is perfectly fine. At some point, they started going back to their home countries, and Spain had to find other people to actually continue having enough labor force. No? But again, I think that especially within the context of the European Union, we have to admit and we have to realize that the flow of workers is natural and actually is one of the pillars of the single market.
I would also like to refer to the latest news. The National Institute of Statistics has just announced the inflation rate for December 2022, which goes as high as 16.4%. In the last year, this rate was a continuous growing trend. How do you think investors see the current economic climate?
So the bad thing is that we have high inflation. The good thing is that we have high inflation in every country. So it is not a particular or country issue of Romania, and therefore it will impact, and it is impacting all the neighboring countries as well. Every European Union, Eurozone, but also other countries. No? I would say, a little bit optimistic on the future of how we are managing inflation, because I think, we know the origin of this inflation hike, right? It's a question of, it's the energy prices, it's because of the war on Ukraine, the invasion of Russia. It is also the impact that it is having on the food security and the food crisis. But these are very specific origins of inflation. No? It is true that part of that inflation has been passed through other sectors or other products, and therefore is here to stay and not just a one-off. But on the other hand, I think that it is also quite clear or quite well identified. No? And central banks have done their job. They have increased interest rates. In many cases, or in some countries, people thinking that they have rise interest rates more than they should. I don't think so. I think it's very important to keep inflation down. But I think that, as I said, I'm particularly optimistic, and I think that inflation will remain or will go down
So you
soon.
say that the Romanian National Bank policy, I should give you a little bit of context. The Romanian National Bank has increased 11 times in the past year the benchmark interest rate, which of course led to people paying a bigger amount of money for their loans. But do you think this policy is good for the investor? Is a signal in the market that Romania is a safe investment space?
Yes. Okay. And I'm going to tell you why. Yes, because the worst thing that can happen for an investor is uncertainty. And the worst thing that can happen is to have high inflation. And high inflation is not only bad for investors, even if what you have to do is increase interest rates to bring it down. Inflation is the worst tax to the poor, because they cannot do anything with inflation. Those more vulnerable are the ones more affected by high inflation. And I am vice president of a developing institution. So I care about that part of the population that will suffer more because having a high inflation. And I really think that what the central banks are doing, and what the National Central Bank in Romania has done, increasing rates by 11 times in the last months, is absolutely needed in order to control inflation and therefore protect those that will be more vulnerable.
In the past 6 years, the percentage of American capital has been in a constant decline. I quote here data offered by the American Chamber of Commerce in Romania that shows that American companies are increasingly interested in Hungary and Poland. Why? Why not Romania?
Well, that's a very difficult question, Sonia. I don't know why. At the end of the day, two things here. No, I don't think we should take 2-3 years as the benchmark. No, think that when a company takes a decision of allocating or reallocating or moving production plans to one country or another, this is not something that you do every 6 months. So my point is that you need to, or 6 years, you need to have a very large sample of years for that. No, Poland is a big market. It's a very big market. And this might be behind a decision like that. No, it's a bigger market. It's double what Romania is, no, in terms of population. Hungary is closer to Austria. That might have been one decision. I don't know. But the point is that this country, we should not think on, okay, American firms have, for whatever reasons, allocated in this or that market, no, and not in Romania. What we have to think is, what are the comparative advantages of Romania to really make those firms come here instead of going to other places? What we haven't done that they have, no? And again, I think that there is one key issue: infrastructure investment. The infrastructure basis in Romania needs to be upgraded. And we really need to do those investments to attract that capital. Because at the end of the day, you go to a country where the logistics and where the capacity for you don't come to Romania just to produce and sell in Romania. You come to Romania to produce, sell in Romania, and also export from Romania. And to do that, you need to have the logistics, that means the infrastructure to do that. No? And there is one aspect that might be, that might have been behind those decisions.
Thank you very much for your answers.
Thank you.